about 10 years ago. And it said on here, bright black letters that I rock. It said, you rock. And now it's fading. So I rock, but I'm fading fast, it looks like. Anyway, this is the Buckos Math GED Prop number 1, question 5. And there's no part A to it. Just gonna roll with it. We're not gonna do part A and B anymore. The question reads, if 30% of 20,000 oranges are crushed during shipping and 10% of the remaining oranges are spoiled by mold, how many oranges remain? Well, I call this kind of a positive, negative type question. Like they're asking for the ones that are still good at the end, they're gonna sell. And that seems reasonable. They don't really care about the ones that are spoiled. They don't want to count them, other than the fact that they got to figure out how many they're going to deliver. So we're going to try to keep this in a positive mode. There is another way of solving these problems, and in math you'll find that a lot, that there's more than one way to get the correct answer. And don't be so concerned with doing a technique a certain way. If you're getting the right answer, roll with it, and your instructor should probably understand that there's more than one road that will lead you to Rome. All right, instead of saying 30% of the oranges are crushed, could we say, because there's 100% of something, that 70% of the oranges didn't get crushed? Those are the ones that we're talking about. We want to know what's good, not what got thrown out. So instead of saying 30% got crushed, we're going to say 70% are good. And we're going to start out with this weird little symbol, and I really dislike that symbol because you can't really do too much with it mathematically. But whenever you see that symbol, you turn it into a per 100, which is what it means, a percent, out of 100. 70 out of 100 are good. And then I crossed out, a 0 from the top and a 0 from the bottom. As long as your decimal point's over here, that's legal to do. And you get 7 over 10, or 7.7, 7/10. It's the same thing. So I took 7/10, 0.7, and multiplied it by the 20,000 oranges. And that gives me 14,000 oranges are good in the first step. Then of those 14,000, it goes to say, the rest, they get spoiled by mold. There's another thing that's going to eat up our oranges. So of the 14,000, 10% gets spoiled by mold. And again, we don't want to talk about the bad ones. We want to talk about what we're going to have left at the end. That's what they're asking for. How many oranges remain? So again, if there's 10% that's spoiled, that means that 90% are good. So instead of saying 90%, I'm going to say 0.9. We're going to do the same thing we did with the 90%, or with the 70%, with the 90%, and call it 0.9. And 0.9 times 14,000, which is the oranges that remained after the first loss. And when you crunch those numbers, you wind up with this number right here. 12,600 oranges are remaining. Bingo.